Hello all, good morning, good evening or good afternoon based on wherever you're seeing this from. Okay, so I'm a little bit surprised that I haven't talked about it till now. Somebody asked me a question and I was reviewing it on my LinkedIn, on my YouTube account, and I didn't find it. So yeah, thank you for that person who asked this question. So we'll talk about SetAutoCalcField today because we haven't talked about it till now. And I would like to remind you again that there is a Teams community available. The link to join this community will be available in the description as well as on the pinned comment of this video. Now this question came from here, so I love here, people can ask direct questions. I understand where things are going. So if you would like to join the interaction, come here and we'll talk about Business Central. So it's all Business Central at this moment. So head up to the first comment, see the link and just join it with your personal Teams account. It doesn't work for the official Teams account, the company Teams account. But coming back here. Okay, so performance is something that we all care about a lot. Either we are developers, either we are consultants who talk to our customers. There's one common thing that everybody talks about, which is performance. And there's a whole playlist on the YouTube channel about the performance. You can go and watch other stuff over there. But today we'll talk about one very important thing, which is not released now. It was available earlier. There are some enhancement to it in this release. So we'll also talk about this. We'll see a demo about it, how it works, how it impacts and all. And then we'll understand how this increases the performance of our code. So it's a developer driven topic. So historically nav and then Business Central had these flow fields, which are virtual fields. Now what a flow field is, it's a field that does not store its value itself. It's a calculated field. It gets calculated on the run. So like if you go onto the items page or on the customers or vendor, wherever you go, you will notice there are some kind of field like in this case quantity on hand, which is -4. Now this is a calculated field which is not exist on the item card. It gets calculated from the ledger entries, and same you can do for other areas like customers and vendors, and you'll see other fields that get calculated when the page gets loaded. So you see this balance due, these all are coming as a calculation from some other areas, and there are formulas associated with it. Now what happens as these flow fields are calculated at the runtime when the page actually loads, it kind of degrades the performance, and not just from a client perspective, but when you're running an operation. Let's say you're writing a piece of code where there's a calculated field and you're looping in against it. Let's assume that you have to calculate inventory of all the items. Now you might have 5 items, you might have 5,000 items, and then each item may have thousands of ledger entries, which then ends up slowing down the process when you're calculating it. The way Microsoft have done it in NAV and was continued in BC was using the CalcFields. So with the CalcFields, you are able to calculate the value of these flow fields. So what I've done, because I will be demoing it on a Cronus environment, I didn't add much data. So what I did, let's understand the architecture and then we'll go into the code. I went ahead and created a code which copied the item table as well as item ledger entry table, but not as it is. It kind of multiplied item ledger entry with 2000 times. So if there are 100 entries, now there are 2 lakh entries, right? So it just multiplied that counter and copied that number of ledger entries into these temporary tables, or not temporary table, but the demo tables, which we'll be using in this scenario. So now let's have a look. So when you see this, you notice that there is a item ledger entry which have only 697 records, but we created a copy of it so that we can see the impact of this change on our basic code and these many records. Same for the item table, I just copied them as it is, right? Okay, so now let's come back to and see the performance of it. EDC FlowField performance. Now there are these things that you can see here, and let me zoom this in if it is not visible. One is CalcField, another is AutoCalcField, and then another is a RecordRef, which is an enhancement in 2025 release wave 1. So we'll see what that means. So what typically a CalcField does is it is calculating the sum of or inventory on that custom table, which have more records. And the same code we have rewritten using the AutoCalcField. So let's see what happens when you do a CalcField. So when I click on it, it says the value is this and time it took is 342 millisecond. So it took some time. The inventory value is 684 4 times 0 and then 342 millisecond. Let's try it with this. It just took 9 millisecond. The value remains same, the total is same, but see the difference in the time. It just completed the same activity in 9 millisecond. Now let's see how much code you will have to change, because if you're watching this, I will highly encourage that just go blindly into your projects for your customers and just search for CalcFields. And if you find anywhere where there is an area where you can improve, go and update it, because it will drastically improve the performance of that code. So let's see the example what we are doing here. Let me open my VS Code, and here is that page. So we have the CalcField. What we have done is we have start the transaction here, we ended the transaction here, and then you are seeing the delta of this. Now this calculates the sum using the CalcField. Okay, and what we are doing is a typical loop, which is on the custom item table. We are looping around all the records, and then we are calculating the inventory field, which is a flow field, which gets calculated with the CalcFields, and then we are adding that into the total quantity, which then gets returned from this function. Simple, right? Now let's see what the AutoCalcField does. It does the same thing, but it calls a different function, which is this, which sets the AutoCalcField of the flow field that you want to calculate later on or use in your example, right? So if you look at here or try to see the difference between these two methods, instead of doing the calculation in a loop where I'll have to do it every time, there will be a SQL call every time whenever this function or line is called. I can do it for all the items here automatically at the beginning of it, so that the system now understand that it need to start calculating the value when the record is retrieved from the database. So from its number of SQL query perspective and the time that it takes to calculate the value, it drastically improves the performance of it. Okay, hopefully that's clear. That if you are a reviewer, let's say in your company, make sure that you review that your team is not using this. Okay, if you are a developer and you have written the code, you know how easy it is to update that code so that it gives the optimal performance to your customer and that code is executed by them. Now let's talk about what's new in 2025 release wave 1. So this was all good, and I would say that most of the people who knew about SetAutoCalcField were waiting for this to be available, not just into the records, which was available, but also on the RecordRef scenarios. Now, if you don't know about the RecordRefs or field refs, let me know into the comments. We'll talk about it in a separate video. But in summary, a RecordRef is used when you would like to develop a generic kind of situation or solution. You're not sure what table and fields you're taking, so you might take a table number and then the field that you want to calculate or things like that, right? So if you look at it here, the RecordRef is opened and attached to this data item, which is the EDC item. So now it kind of acts as a pointer to this table. It is open and you can do it on any table. At this moment I'm doing it on the custom table. With 2025 release wave 1 and higher, you will be able to do a recref that SetAutoCalcField with this, and what you are passing here is the field number. You can directly parse the field number, whatever it is, 10, 15, 30, 68, whatever. And then to get the value of it, you then set a field ref, which is a pointer to a field. So here I'm setting the pointer to the field, and then in the loop of this record ref, I'm evaluating the value of field ref, because it always return you a text. Field ref always kind of gives you the value as text, and then it converts it to the quantity, which gets added, and then it returns back. Because there were scenarios where we were missing the SetAutoCalcField need, CalcField needs, while working with RecordRefs and field refs. So in 2025 release wave 1, Microsoft added the capability to use SetAutoCalcField with RecordRefs. So what you need to remember, that you need to be on PC 2025 release wave 1 or higher. And the other thing that you need to remember, which people tend to forget, that your runtime should be 15.0 or higher. Otherwise, you'll start getting an error message that this is not available in 14.0. For this, you need to come to 15.0 or higher. So your runtime in your app.json should point to 15.0 or higher, and then SetAutoCalcField will be available on the RecordRef. Now, I'll not compare it what the values came in the CalcField and AutoCalcField, because a RecordRef works in a completely different logic, but we'll see the total value for sure, and you see that it takes 11 milliseconds, right? It still takes far less time than in the older version, where I had to calculate that FlowField in the RecordRefs and field refs, because that surely slows down the system drastically. So if you didn't knew about it, or if this example kind of confuses you, do let me know, because I think I have covered everything into this. That you can just click on the FlowField, and it now takes 65 milliseconds because it's kind of in the cache right now, but it then still takes 9 milliseconds, which is way faster than the CalcField. So if you are a developer, then start using SetAutoCalcField. If you are not using it till now, it means speed, okay? And speed of your code is a very important factor when customers are using your custom solutions, or even the base Microsoft solutions. As I said in the beginning, that if you don't know about the RecordRef and field ref and would like me to talk about it, let me know into the comment section. Now at this point, you know the drill. I expect 3 things from you. 1, do like the video if you think this was useful and this helped you. Do share it with at least one fellow developer who is either new to it, or who either you think don't know about it, and then he or she will start using it so that they can write better code. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, hit the subscribe button on the bottom right corner somewhere, the red button, and get updates whenever we post something. For business requests, you can reach out to us at info@ethityconsulting.com. And as I said in the beginning, I would love to see you into the community, Teams community, so that we can have engaging discussions there. We are doing weekly quizzes there, a simple fun quiz about Business Central, and whatever I can and others can contribute there, everybody is doing it. So I'll wait to see you in the community, and then thank you and have a nice day. I'll see you sooner than later into the next video. Keep learning and keep sharing whatever you're learning. Thank you.